Welcome in Commanders family to a new season of The Game Plan. We sit with head coach Dan Quinn and talk to him all about his offseason and how he made that initial 53-man roster.
Yeah, then I get to go in the film room with him. We talk about Tyler Owens and Jayden Daniels.
Yes, and we get to see that chemistry. Dan Quinn talks about his time with Logan Paulsen and what he's learned from his time as a head coach. All that and more starts right now. Welcome into The Game Plan, Commanders family. I am Brian Kobe Jr. here with the legend Logan Paulsen and, of course, our fearless leader, head coach Dan Quinn. Coach, good to have you here.
Yeah, I'm pumped to be on with you guys, and yeah, it'll be a cool show, man. I'm really pumped to be here with you.
We're so excited to have you. And this is our initial show. No, we got to do some intros, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, people know who you are, but this is your return to the DMV.
Right.
How has it been?
It's been awesome, man. Honestly, the whole experience of coming back to this area, getting to know the fan base here, getting to know the people, the team, and that's been one of the coolest experiences, man. Like, my favorite part of this team is the team. All these guys, what they make up, the locker room. It's a really cool group of guys, man, so I'm having a blast.
I'm glad you're able to enjoy it because there's a lot of toughness, right, with being in a new team. And one of the things we last talked about was building that cohesiveness, not only with Adam Peters, but the rest of your staff. How has that process been?
You know, that part is it's so important because they have to know the man before the ball player. And so you're going through the off-season program, new players here, current players here. Before we got into the X and O's, we wanted to make sure we got to know who, you know, behind the ribcage, who was the person. And then we did the same thing with the rookies. And to see the veterans really take on, you know, the young guys. We had, 20 rookies that were here. And so to see them, they were not our pledges, they're little brothers. And so to make sure they were going to help them gain their way into the NFL and earn that respect. And so it's a very cool place if you are a young player to come in because you got some really cool mentors that are looking after you.
Coach, I always think it's interesting when you build a staff because you get people from all over the place. You got guys from Philly, from New York. Like, do you have like a Rolodex of names? You're like, oh, let's go call so-and-so, or is there people referring you people? Or how did you
know what? I was fortunate, Logan. I had some time, to prepare for this. And so over the last few years, had a chance to visit with some people. If an opportunity, that really would light us up, that this would be something we'd want to do. So guys like Brian Johnson and Anthony Lynn and Jason Simmons, Daryl Tapp were ones that it just, if it all lined up, would there be a shot? And so what was really cool is see how many people wanted to be here. They saw the same vision that I had about what it can be here and how we'd go about doing that. And so that was like one of the most gratifying feeling, knowing like they want in, they want a part of it.
And Coach, before we move to preseason, I have to ask you a follow-up because you said that this time around was a little different than that time around in Atlanta. Can you expound on that and why was it so different for you and why was it important for it to feel different this time?
Yeah, I think, you don't get a lot of shots at these. And so leaving Atlanta, there were some things I wanted to do differently, if this next opportunity came about. And I was looking for something so specific to know where you could just go kick ass at the highest level. And so the ownership group with Josh, general manager with AP, what you can do, here, knowing like this is a kick-ass organization and like knowing how important the football team is to this community, like that's the type of environment I wanted to be a part of where you feel the team and the city connect. And so those were some of the markers that I wanted and I wasn't going to miss it, when the opportunity came about, I just wasn't.
I've always wondered, Coach, like, and this is something I'll never have the opportunity to do, so it's cool to be able to ask you about it, is how do you know when you sit down with an owner, these are some of the most smartest, most powerful people in the world, and, you like football, and I like football. Yeah. But how do you kind of enter that group and say, hey, like, this is the right opportunity for me?
Yeah, and I think most people can probably relate to it. When you're on an interview, you're also interviewing them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You want to find out, what are some of their values? How do they like to communicate? What's the things that are important to them in the team? And so when you're there, that's how you can find out some of the information, although our professional paths might be different. That doesn't mean you can't be connected in similar values, similar philosophies of winning and building a team and things that are important to me. So for me, I wanted somebody that believed in culture and believed in communication and believed in team. Those were the things that make me, as a coach, fill me up. And so when all that was aligned here, that was why I was like, this is the spot. This is the one that I'm going for with all I got.
And after you make these decisions, you go through that process, get your coaching staff together.
Yep.
Now it's time to play ball. Now we're into the preseason. First things first. First time being back in the preseason as a head coach. What stood out to you most during that time?
It was cool. Like, we had 2 road trips together. We went to New Jersey for 4 days, and we went to Miami for 4 days, had a practice and a game, a practice and a game. So in those moments, you want to see the team connect, to see how they're going to respond to one another going against, playing against other people, and to see how strong their bond is. And they've been competing against one another for so long. So let's see how it goes when we go up to New Jersey or down to Miami. And so they wouldn't back off. They were competing, and having those 4 days together away from here, I thought was really valuable for us. I trust these guys, and I trust them on and off the field. And so not every team can say that. You take a trip down to Miami for 4 days, or to New York for 4 days. I've been on some teams. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
A little dicey,
yeah. But
dicey.
I would say you could tell how important it is to this crew and their standards they have for one another. And those are the things that stand out to me.
You talked about connection. Like, that's something that as a player you can feel, but it's like as a coach, like, how do you identify? You mentioned the competition. You mentioned stuff like that. Is it the guys cutting up in the locker room? Is it the sideline? Like, what are the things, or is it all of the above that kind of say this team's really hit it on the way you want to hit it?
I think the biggest marker, Logan, is player to player. And how does the team act and respond when we're not with the coaches, and what does that look like? And so to see their time together, I think I probably noticed it, first in maybe it was an OTA or a mini camp, and okay, the day ends at this time at 1 o'clock, and they're just hanging out still, doing stuff together at 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon. There wasn't any coaches there; they were just doing their thing together. So, what excited me probably about the Miami game and the New England game was the energy on the sideline on a touchdown play at the end of the game. Just, we would have got a penalty. There was like 50 players in T-shirts and shorts, like in the end zone. But I would say that's what I'd hoped I'd see. Yeah. That type of connection where their brothers were making plays and they were excited about it. Because if you don't have that, all your scheme and the other stuff, it makes it a lot harder. So the first thing you have to do, man, you have to play hard for one another. And so seeing those guys do that was cool, because they were expressing to their teammates how hard they're willing to go to be a part of this.
And, Coach, you hit on some of those beautiful things about preseason and why we love it so much.
Yes.
But there's a lot of tough decisions that go into that preseason as it comes to an end, and you had to settle on a 53-man roster. Talk to us about that evaluation process and what you were looking for in the preseason to make that final decision. Yeah,
I think as you're going through some things, you want to make sure that you have an identity, so people – know who you are, how you get down when you play. And you have to have a certain attitude and play style to do that. And so before any scheme comes in, we had said, being a commander ain't going to be for everybody. It's going to be hard. We're going to be tough. And that doesn't mean you can't play in the league, but we are going to be about that life and be tough and physical and play fast. And so the guys that wanted to demonstrate that and show that over and over, that was really at the top of the pile. The skill sets, you're always developing that, Brian. You're always continuing to work on that. And that kind of shows up in the tape where a player is, in their development. But if you have the dog in you to go fight for it and battle for it, you can develop a hell of a lot faster, because you're not going to stop. And so those were the traits that we were looking for going into the end of the preseason. Adam and I, it never really stopped. So it's not like 2 nights ago we had to come up with a list. Oh, what are we going to do now? So it's been moving that way of who we would like to, have represent us in the city and what we're about. And so that was a long, ongoing conversation.
Is that hard to do, Coach? Is that hard to kind of say, we want to prioritize, toughness and competitiveness over maybe physical skill? I've been on some teams where it's been more physical skill, and the culture kind of wanes. Is that hard for you, or is that the right way to do it?
I think you have to go through the lessons to know that. And I don't know about you, Logan, but the best teams I've been a part of were really tough.
100%.
And really good in the locker room first. And so when you had those two things and they were really tough, really good in the locker room, you'd be surprised what a team can accomplish, because they're just not going to stop. They're not going to beat themselves. And so when that connection happens, they really don't want to let the other guy down. Yeah. If there's not a connection, not my fault, I did my job, but so we don't want that part. We want to make sure guys are all about it, and so it's cool to see.
I think you see that around the league too, like San Fran, Detroit, all these teams that are good football teams. They're tough as nails, and that seems like the model to get it done.
It's way deeper than collecting talent.
Yeah,
way deeper than that. It's about putting an entire team together. We're always going to we're always going to choose the team. That's our obligation. to the organization and to the fans and everybody else.
And a big part of building that team, of course, is the rookies. You got a
Yes.
rookie quarterback in Jayden Daniels. A little easier for a quarterback to stand out in the preseason, right? But for these other rookies, what are things you're looking for that makes a rookie stand out trying to make this roster?
Yeah, I think there's an element that you need confidence for sure, and that comes from reps and from playing. And when you see that play happen, I'd like to see more of that. Can we get some more? And when you show that again, now you're demonstrating what you're capable of becoming, what you're capable of doing. And sometimes coming out of college, not sometimes, most of the time, a player doesn't even have a vision of what they can be. And they think the NFL is supposed to be one thing or what it is, but like, you can do this one thing better than anybody. We can build your whole game around that. And finding what you're exceptional at is important, because you can't BS yourself and, try things that you're not capable of becoming. But if you can find some things that like you're as good or better than anybody at, like, we're going to find how to build around that. And so there's a number of these guys that have stood out in that way. And then the second thing, we're just looking for guys who won't stop competing. We're going to find an edge, go finish plays. And when you do that over and over, that's when we demonstrate it to their teammates and to everybody here, like, they're putting their chips on the table. Like, I want in. And you have to recognize that. I was really fortunate, like my entryway into the NFL, I was around like some remarkable people. And so my first year was like Bill Walsh had still been a consultant and a GM at San Francisco. And so like spending time in his office and finding out about what would he do on short yardage and a designated pass rusher and the smallest of details. And coming from college, you just looked at a player and you evaluated, oh, he's a good player, and you signed him. It was so much more specific, and it just changed my whole vision of there's certain things that players can do, and then how do you build around that? And when you were coming up in college, you just look for the good athlete or the good player, and so it was so much more specific than that. And that was probably the first thing that enhanced that ability to look for what a player can do as opposed to what they can't. And when you can find it and you do it over and over, then you have something really cool.
And Coach, you're super chill right now, but everybody you talk to around the league, whether it's Josh Harris, whether it's people on other teams, they talk about your energy. Why was it so important for you to come in and bring this energy and instill that on this team?
I think it's a pretty chill studio, so I feel like I should be hanging out with you. It's
literally
chill.
and figuratively.
They're all taking a nap in here.
Yeah, it's like so nice. Why was the culture part so important?
Yeah.
I think, when you've coached for a while and been on a lot of teams, I think I've been over like 70 or 80 of them in my life. I love being a part of a team, and it's why I coach, that connection with the players, the coaches, everybody who's part of the team, knowing that the wins are produced by everybody. And so when you have that appreciation to know how hard it is and how much you have to put in to go get it, and all these people are pulling forward in the same direction to go get the wins, like, it's such a cool feeling. And that doesn't happen just, rolling the ball out or having a practice. Like, you have to be intentional about, what you're looking for. And what we're looking for is guys that play with energy, play with toughness, but we have really high standards about how we want to do things. And so it's hard, but we also have a lot of fun doing it. And so I think through my life you can work really, really hard, but you can also like enjoy it and have a good time, and finding the balance of both of those are some of the best times.
Coach, excited for this show and excited to see you guys get in the film room after this break. Thanks, Coach.
All right, awesome, man. Glad to be on with you guys, and we'll throw a hell of a year.
Yes, sir. It was great getting to hear more about our 2024 season roster. Now it's time for your Prime Player, brought to you by DC Prime, Loudoun's premier steakhouse. For dinner reservations or private dining, call 703-840-2099. Rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels has shown out so far in the preseason, being announced as the starter and earned himself a QB rating of over 100. Daniels won the Heisman last year after leading the NCAA in passer rating. We look forward to seeing what he'll accomplish against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coming up, you won't want to miss this Commanders family. Coach and Logan head into the film room to talk more in depth about Washington's rookie starting quarterback, Jayden Daniels. And later on, Logan and I give an extensive preview into what fans can expect for the NFL regular season, which is only 1 week away. The Game Plan is presented by Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly. Time to go inside the film room, brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly.
All right, Coach, man, kind of concluding the preseason here, and like it's great to kind of have the roster coming together. And there's a couple guys that are always fun, those young guys especially.
Yes.
Catching your eye, we got an undrafted guy in Tyler Owens, and we got a drafted guy, obviously second overall pick with Jayden Daniels. But I don't know, man. I was watching, going through these clips. I'm like, what is Coach going to like? And this stuck out to me. This is this new dynamic kickoff rule.
Yes.
And I don't know, man. I like when people throw people into the ball carrier.
Yeah, we love that too.
You know what I'm saying? And just a young guy coming along, playing with great intensity and effort.
Yeah, I think, as you know, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And playing on special teams is having that dog mentality. So I'm going to make something happen. What's also really cool for the viewers to find out is how do you beat somebody in a single block?
Yeah.
Everybody's up close. So you go back door, which would be around them.
Yep, we got this guy coming up here.
Yep.
We got underneath.
Or the last one is bully.
Yeah,
That's going right through.
And
that's the ways that you make the impact to go. But he brings a lot of energy, and also one of the cool things when you do make a tackle like this, the sideline, the energy that comes with that when the defense goes to take the field. So I'm really pumped about it.
And you were talking about how he did that multiple times. Like he probably did that 3 or 4 times. And then like this too, right? He's up here playing in the vice. This is a tough deal, man. Like in the preseason, this is tough living. It's hard. These guys are fast. They're trying to make the squad. But I don't know, man. I've never seen anybody eject a person the way he ejects this guy right here. Like he's just checking IDs.
It's hard sledding outside. And, what a good person to learn from,
Yes.
from Larry, who lived the life of somebody who absolutely dominated on some special teams. But this is Tyler. This is his intensity. Yeah. This is where he's at. And he's just taken to the coaching and absolutely going for it. So that's the play style that we want, Logan, over
the commander, right?
Yes.
The commander.
And,
that's exactly right.
It's really cool to see.
And then this reminded me of like Matthew Slater. You know what I'm saying? And for those that's like playing gunner, just making, like being that guy, being that dog. Like you can play a long time in the NFL if you can run down and cover a punt like this.
Yeah, and this was his very first NFL play.
Really?
Which is cool, yeah.
No way.
Like just absolutely hauling and going to track the hip of the guy, good right shoulder hit, and finishing all the way through the tackle. So this is a textbook example of just running through the contact, owning your leverage so the returner cannot get outside of you, knowing all your coverage is inside. And so this would be a hard person to single.
Yes.
That I can promise you.
And that helps out the rest of the return also.
That's right.
So that's one end of the spectrum. That's an undrafted free agent making his way on teams with, being that bully, being super physical. And you got your guy over here, right? And this guy, everyone's been talking about him, but this play I thought was a lot of fun, right?
Yep.
And we had a lot of fun with him. You talked about in the media, right? It's man coverage. Everyone's locked up. He said, I don't like the screen up here.
That's right.
So I'm going to check to something that I like. And he checks to this all goes special, right? Everyone's going to run verticals, kind of attacking the middle field safety here. And there's just a lot to the process that I enjoy when I watch him, right? The eyes, all those kind of things.
And you should, because it's one thing to have a play that has a kill with it or an alert with it that this look is going to mean it. He went this way and said, okay, I know the look, and I know a better option right here. And
I love that, yeah.
That was pretty cool to look off the middle field safety to get him to turn, knowing that he's going to go up to Diamond up on the top. So what a cool play.
What a cool play. What the awareness, the technicality of it, the finish here by Diami, it's all there for you, and it's nice to see him that was like his third play from scrimmage, which is also pretty cool. So
part of becoming this team, it's first the connection between the players, and you see that, and then there's the execution. Then the last one is being able to create big plays.
Absolutely,
and Jayden can do that.
Yeah, and then this one, I think this is a little bit more subtle, but we've got kind of this kind of dig concept here with the flat, and again, you mentioned his eyes in the first one. I love his vision, how he kind of just works through the process. His feet are very calm. This is a little bit more subtle, but I think it shows kind of his maturity at the position.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people see quarterback in the throws, but this is an example of the player playing the position really well. Yeah. Okay, up on the top, they're sitting down onto Terry. Yeah. The safety's leaning over that way as well. So like the option now is to come back and bring it back to this side. We're close to field goal range into that space, making sure we stay connected into that spot. So good decision there.
And ensuring points, and like that's a good play. And all these plays have been good, but this one, like the defense, this Miami defense, man, they did some crazy stuff. This looks like single high man to me. Like we're going to run to the man side. We're going to try to hit the ball down here to Terry on this go. And they kind of do this crazy shift. I don't know, man. Like I don't remember this when I was in Atlanta with you, but they shifted this cover 2, right? Yes. And this go is dead versus cover 2, and he probably should be working up top, but he doesn't. There's no panic, no freak out, right? And you talk about accelerating feet and not making a bad play worse.
That's right. And the ability for him to speed up.
Yeah.
And now to say, okay, that's not there. I have to get rid of this ball. This is not the time or the field position to take a sack.
Yeah.
And this is the best option. it's only going to be for Terry or out of bounds.
Yep.
And so the ability to recognize it and adjust on the move, like that's playing the position at a high level.
Yeah, and so those are two guys, man, I can't wait to watch this year. And it's good to talk about the preseason, but we're excited for the regular season.
Yeah, we are too, man. See this whole puzzle finally come together at the end of the preseason. Man, it's exciting because you can really see the vision of how we can feature the guys and what they can do. And yeah, we're really pumped, man.
Can't wait.
We have a full slate of content for you, Commanders family, starting with our podcast. Now, every Monday, we have our new podcast called Booth Review with London Fletcher and Bram Weinstein. They talk about the preseason and positivity heading into this new season. For access to all press conferences, you can check out Media Pass. Now, this week on the Get Loud podcast, London Fletcher joined the show and talked making the roster as an undrafted free agent and playmakers from the preseason. You can check out the Get Loud podcast featuring the captain. On the Command Center podcast, Logan, Tana, and Fred recapped the preseason and dove into the 53-man roster. Then on Fridays, it's Next Man Up. This week, we have our starting running back, Brian Robinson Jr. And stick around, Commanders family, because Logan and I will be right back to talk more about your Commanders and players to watch against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. Welcome back. It's time for a competitive edge brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the Washington Commanders. Now, here's a look at the upcoming competition for the Commanders. Washington hits the road for their first game of the season, heading down to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers next Sunday. Then they'll head back to the DMV for the home opener at Northwest Stadium on September 15th against the New York Giants. Then the following week, we take on Cincinnati for some primetime Monday Night Football. You definitely won't want to miss the Commanders home opener at 1 p.m. on September 15th versus the New York Giants. Be sure to get your tickets at commanders.com. Now, it's time for your ticket to a win, presented by SeatGeek, your ticket to great Commander seats. Welcome back to Gameplan, Commanders family. Logan, it was so cool seeing you and DQ have that same chemistry that you guys had out in Atlanta. And for those who don't know, you played under Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I did play under Dan. It's great to see him here. You know, like great to see him kind of revitalize this opportunity. I remember talking to him after he was fired in Atlanta and kind of him asking for feedback, and him, I know other people that I know talking and looking for feedback about how he could grow, and then seeing him implement all of that feedback. And he's just got such a growth mindset, and he's just such a good person, you know. And I think that's the thing. Like, I tell people this all the time, I never had more fun than when I was playing in Atlanta because of him, because he makes it fun to come to work every day. He makes you passionate about your teammates and the connection. He talked about that a lot in the interview, and it's cool to see it kind of ramped up and revitalized and retooled. His superpower is building relationships with people, and I think you see that every single day that he's here, and he can focus exclusively on that because Adam Peters is so talented at his job. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think for him to kind of build that structure out that allows him to be the best version of himself, I think is his evolution, but also a total credit to him.
And Logan, talking about superpowers, I think your superpower is being in that film room. So it was great to see. I'm excited to do this show with you. Commanders family, you can catch us every Sunday on WSA 9, Sunday mornings before your games. This is Game Plan with Brian Colbert Jr., Logan Paulsen, head coach Dan Quinn. Until next Sunday, Commanders family, we out.